Well, I titled this one Mowing the Lawn. You might not think of that as something that has any issues with design or improving things, but from the way I look at things, the way I look at life, everything can be improved. There are ways to make things better, and I'm going to find out what they are. So I keep working at this stuff. In fact, just like right now, changing that light, I just have to try something different because I cannot seem to get the lighting the way I want it. I'm going to get it right one of these days, and I don't like that way either. That didn't work. So that's not too bad. It kind of looks strange for me. But anyway, if I'm going to mow the lawn, I want to do it as fast as possible. Now, I still have to get it done right, though. I was called this. Where'd that come from? Wow. Anyway, I was told by one of my bosses, and this I consider it a compliment. He says, "You're ambitiously lazy." Now think about that. Being ambitious and yet being lazy at the same time. Maybe others have heard it, I don't know. But what it means to me is I want to get all these things done. I want to do all this stuff. But I only want to do it once. And I don't want to take any more time than I absolutely have to. If I was mowing and I missed a spot, that means I have to back up. I don't want to back up. I never want to back up. It's all part of my makeup, really, because I want to make as few trips as possible. I want to do it in the least amount of movement. I don't know why that's ingrained in me. I don't want to waste anything either. So as far as food goes and things like that, there is no waste. I hate throwing a piece of lumber away. I do, though. I'm not a pack rat. I'm not a hoarder of any type. However, I always think I wish I could find something to do with this rather than throw it away. I've actually had to learn how to, you might say, give up things. So, mowing the lawn. I was charged, each one of us, my brother, myself, and my sister, each had a section of lawn we had to mow. Now, my section was quite large. It was probably an acre, maybe a little more. Didn't have many trees or anything like that, so it made it fairly easy in that respect. But that meant a lot of just driving. My section was the largest out of the three, which that just seemed to figure. I always got stuck that way. But I noticed that for a while we used to rotate. We each did a different section, and finally I just stuck that I had to do this one section. My brother or my sister, if they did it, they ran out of gas and would have to fill the tractor up. And they would run out, you know, out in the middle of the yard, so they had to go get the gas can, go fill it up, go and take it back. I could mow the whole thing and not run out of gas. I divided it up into 3 major sections. I established that I have so many laps around the outside to open up the yard, blowing the grass inward, so that when I started blowing the grass outward, I wouldn't blow the grass on the walk or into the driveway. So once I got those 3 or 4 rounds in, I don't remember which it was, I then I divided the front yard into 3 sections by where the trees were located. So the first section, when I would go across, I would run right into where the trees were. I went around the trees on one side doing that section, and then I would just keep mowing that one section around and around, and I would mow the ends until the two long sides were close enough together it didn't make sense to mow the end. And then I would just go back and forth. Then I'd go to the next section. I'd have to go around the tree the other way, but I didn't have to do any backing up. I was able to catch the grass on either edge as you go around it. I would be able to get that little bit, and I mowed so that I took as wide a swath as possible without missing any, and I focused on it, and I did this time after time, and every time I would be able to get done without having to fill it up. If either one of them ever had to go, well, even my mother or my father, if they did, which they almost never did, but there were times, but if they mowed, they all ran out of gas. So that kind of shows you the kind of mentality I have, and I do it time after time because I just did not want to waste any more time than I had to, mowing that grass. But I was totally focused on mowing the grass. Sometimes I would be working on something out in the shed, but my tools were in the garage or down in the basement, and I wanted to take my bicycle along because once I got the tools out there, I wasn't going to bring them back for a while. So I would get so many tools in my hands, plus I would walk the bike out there just so that I could ride it back in. Sometimes it didn't work very well because I would drop tools and I just could not carry it all at one time, so I would back off and leave some of the junk lay on the ground and go out with what I had and then come back and get the rest of it. So this was kind of one of the other things that I did, to make myself more efficient. I have other things about my driving, which I have a channel called I'm Not Childish, and on that I have three episodes where I talk about offensive driving and some of my rules for offensive driving. But one of the things I don't talk about too much is that I always drove with the intent of getting to where I was going, not to sightsee. Sightseeing was never on my agenda, although there were times I wished I could have, but because of my belief in focusing on the road and what I'm doing, not just to get there but also to be safe, that I wouldn't mess with things like sightseeing and that kind of stuff. And some people would say, well, yeah, you saved a minute, you saved 2 minutes, and what's the big deal on that? Who cares? But the thing was, is those minutes add up. I mean, there's hours upon hours, days, weeks that I've saved just on the road. I actually kind of joke it's a time machine, because other people will get on the road and will say it takes them, 2 hours to get to their destination, where for me it's an hour and a half. And I'm not really, I mean, I go 5, maybe 10 mile an hour over the speed limit on highways, where most people that want to do anyway. So, but I also focus on the road. I know exactly when to change lanes and things like that. I'm ambitiously lazy. I don't want to have to back up. I make sure that cars do not hold me back from where I'm heading. I have a story in there where I also actually passed a cop that was doing a running roadblock. Now, in the end, I actually got stopped, but I felt I did it for the greater good because everybody else that was being held up with this guy now had a wide open road, and believe me, you heard it. You heard him stepping on the gas and getting the hell out of there while he was writing me up. So I didn't care. I care more nowadays because the points now reflect right on your insurance, and that sucks. It makes it harder to justify doing it because you get nailed with the expense. So, plans have to change depending on the conditions. And that's another idea the design has to accept. You can't always stick with what you have because things change. And when they do, you have to make an adjustment for it. Well, I think we'll call that one a done deal. And sorry I didn't have any pictures, but I'm not going to be able to produce pictures for everything. And some of the stuff, even though I built it, I don't have anything to show for it as of now. Thanks for listening.